I am Denise Griffitts, and this is your partner in Success Radio. My guest today, Peter Economy, is here to show us how to reclaim your time, boost productivity, and get more done without burning out. Now, Peter is a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, business author. He's a ghostwriter. He's a developmental editor and publishing consultant with more than 135 published books and over 3 million copies sold worldwide. And today we are sponsored by Pod Assist, Podasssist. As entrepreneurs, authors, and business leaders, our time is our most valuable asset. And if you're spending hours editing episodes, writing show notes, or managing the details of your podcast, it's time to get some of that time back. Pod Assist has been helping podcasters produce professional quality shows since 2015, and they handle the behind the scenes work so you can focus on creating great conversations, which is what a great podcast is, great conversations, and growing your business. So learn more how Pod Assist can help you reclaim your time and elevate your podcast. Just go to www.podassist.com. Now back to my guest. Peter Economy has been here before, and I'm delighted to have him back on the podcast. And his latest book, which is on my desk as we speak, is called, and I love this title, Wait, You Need It When? And when I read that and when I saw it, I laughed, and he knows I laughed at it because I think it's hysterical. And it focuses on one of today's biggest workplace challenges, reclaiming the hours we unknowingly waste every single day. And studies suggest that the average employee loses roughly 2 hours every workday to interruptions, distractions, unnecessary meetings, and this is the big one, poor work habits. And Peter explains why this happens, what it costs businesses, whether you're a corporation, mid-level, or you're an individual like I am, and most importantly, how we can take back control of our time. Peter, good morning. Welcome back to the show, and thank you for sending me this book. I love the title. I really do.
Thank you, Denise. It's so great to be back with you again. I really appreciate your having me.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been. I think
Yeah.
I think it was that first book I worked on about what I'm the boss. I think it was that one. It's been a
You
little
have, it was, and you have the best titles. It's like, I'm the boss, now what? So
while. No.
how do you come up with those things? I mean, they're entertaining. They grab you, and you're like, okay, I have to read this.
Yeah, it's always a little bit of a struggle between me and the publishers because they always want their titles and I want my title. So we work it out.
Well, I think you won
Thank you.
each one of your books
Thank
I've
you so
read. I
much.
mean, honestly, the titles really do grab you, and that's important.
It is. I mean, when you're walking through a bookstore and you're looking at those book covers, you want a title that's going to grab the person walking by them and pick it up, at least pick it up off the shelf, and take a look at it. That's a big part of it right there.
It is. And I really appreciate you sending me these books. And next time you write something, call me. I'll get you
I
back
sure
on the
will.
show.
You'll be top of the list for sure.
You're oh good. You're welcome to come back anytime. But Peter, tell people about you, what you do, and why you write these fantastic books.
Well, thanks. I don't want to give you the big long 2-hour story, but I'll just sort of encapsulate it. Years ago, I was a manager, full-time manager, and then I started writing books on the side, and that became a full-time job where I was working all day, full-time job as a manager, and then I was working at night, writing books. So I essentially had two full-time jobs. I got laid off along with, I think, 14 other managers or so, maybe 14 years ago. And I decided, okay, that's no problem. I'll just keep writing books. I'll just keep doing that full-time book writing thing I'm doing. The next day they called me back, said, oh, we found some more money. Come on back. And I said, no, I think I'm just going to keep doing this book thing. It's been about 20 years ago since that happened. And I've been writing books ever since. And I've discovered that that's the thing I was meant to do. I mean, this is my vocation. I wasn't meant to be a manager. I wasn't meant to be a business guy, although I have my own business. My job was to become a writer and help other people get their books published.
I'm trying to picture their reaction when you said, gee, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, I'm
That had
sure
to
they're
have
all
raised some
surprised.
eyebrows. Yeah.
I think they were surprised because, who wouldn't say, sure, I'll come back for 6 more months and, come back to work. But I decided at that point I enjoyed writing more than I enjoyed being a manager, just to be honest.
I would imagine. And people these days, so many people, they're doing 2 things that I can spot because I watch a lot. They're creating podcasts and they're writing books, and it's
Right.
about darn time.
Yeah, I mean, podcasts are just amazing. I've been on a lot of podcasts, and I've got to admit, yours is my favorite to be on because
Oh,
you
thank
always
you.
well, I mean, you take the time to actually look through the books, read the books, and a lot of podcasters don't do that. They'll ask me for some questions, "Can you hear some question? Can you send me some questions and answers?" But you take the time to actually read through the book, and you've got your own questions, which I really appreciate because a lot of podcasters don't do that.
I am aware of that, and every time I come across somebody who says, I had this wonderful guest on my show, and then the podcast you can tell that they didn't read the book, you can tell, and
Right.
I wanna pinch their little heads. If you went to the trouble as a podcaster to request a book, you owe it to that author to read and absorb that book, and if you didn't, shame on you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and we can tell, I mean, as being someone being interviewed, we can tell when the podcaster actually knows they've read the book, they've taken the time to do that, and we appreciate it. We really do appreciate that.
But listen, here's my attitude. I'll read anything, I'll read the back of a
Uh.
cereal box if I have to, and I don't eat cereal, so that's a little difficult,
Oh.
but I've been reading since I was 3. It's what I do. I
Yeah.
read, and when these books land, and I'm always so excited when they land on my doorstep, they get read about 2.5 to 3 times. This is no joke. I will grab the book, open the box, take a picture of it, send it to you and your booker if necessary. I've got the book. I'm all excited. And then I do a page flip. We all do that. "Ooh, what's in here? What's in here?" And I start putting sticky notes in it, "Go back to this, go
Mm.
back to this." And then about a month or 2 before you're slated to come on the show, I really read the book. I mean, I really read it, more sticky notes. Your book's fat, by the way. It's got sticky notes all
Wow.
over it. I won't mark up a book. My childhood librarian would get me. She'd
Right.
get me with a ruler, and we weren't even Catholic, but she had that ruler handy.
Sure. Yeah.
But and then the weekend of, which I did this past weekend, I sit down with it and I read it again because it's a gift. It is a gift that you sent to me, and I want to absorb it.
Well, thank you, Denise. I appreciate that personally.
And thank you for sending the book. But let's go back to what we're really talking about. Why are we so busy? And why do we feel like we're just getting less and less done? It's frustrating. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think back to when I was a kid, I grew up in the '60s. I was born in the late '50s and grew up in the '60s. And I don't recall it being quite so busy. I mean, I went to school, I didn't we didn't have a lot of after school activities that I recall. Basically we played with our friends. We would go out on our bikes and ride our bikes all over town. We'd go hike in the woods behind our house. We'd go back there. There was a little creek behind our house, and we'd go hike to the lake, go fishing, things like that. But it wasn't busy. Our days weren't full of activities, planned activities. These days, it seems like, with my kids, we have 3 kids. My wife and I have 3 kids, and they're all older now. They're in their 30s. But when they were growing up, we had all sorts of planned activities for them. They had to go to this sport, they had to go to this activity after school. Everything was all planned out for our kids. So, I think we have as a society have changed a bit where we're just so much busier with things. And it's changed the way we look at our time. I mean, our time has just been taken away from us. We're and with our cell phones, we've got our iPhones with us everywhere. When I was a kid, we had our phones in our house, and there were pay phones at the gas station, things like that, but you didn't carry a phone around with you. There was nothing to distract you, every waking minute. My wife has her cell phone, and she works, at a local university, and she'll be getting pinged on her phone, 9 o'clock at night, somebody in China is making some kind of schedule change for one of her principal investigators, and she'll take a look at that email that came through. I mean, I'm constantly getting pinged on my phone, so it's just a different world that we live in today, and it's just gotten busier and more distracting than ever before.
And listen, I agree with you. When we were kids, we carried books around with us. The whole
Right,
family read. My mom would load us in the car, take especially summer, and we would go to the library and we had all discussed, okay, what is it that you want to read? Okay, and we could only get 5 books each. So we kind of knew what we were going to be sharing with, my siblings. And that's what we did. And to this day, I mean, I will carry my iPad around if I'm heading outdoors, going somewhere, but that's so I can read.
right.
I don't want to watch TV. I don't watch TV. I rarely. In fact, went to turn it on the other day I decided I wanted to watch Top Gun Maverick, and I had to sit with the remote and study it because I couldn't remember how to turn it on. I could turn
Right,
on
it's
a
been
book
a
though.
while, and
Yeah.
it was probably very dusty. I had to get the
Yeah.
dust.
Yeah. It actually was between the cushions. I had to go hunt for the darn
Go find it.
thing. Yeah. But we and I get what you say about, planning for your kids and planning, all these different things. We didn't do that. We
Mhm.
came in when we were thirsty. I still drink from the water hose if I can.
Right, sure.
But
Yeah.
it's just honestly, I think we just expect too much of our time instead of sitting and reflecting and sitting and reading or listening or just looking at I look at the ceiling fans because I wonder what the heck's up there. Spiders, aliens, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then, this, getting to the technology part, you're talking about television. I for social media is a huge distraction,
It
and
is.
and to me, it's kind of a cancer in a way because it's an insidious thing that gets into your brain and you don't even notice it, and all of a sudden you're just staring at your phone. I was on TikTok for a while. For some reason, I decided I wanted to look at TikTok, and there's all these little short videos, and they're like candy. They're brain candy, and you just start consuming them and going video after video after video. They call that doom scrolling, where you're just scrolling through video after video. And I found myself, all of a sudden, an hour would be gone just scrolling through these stupid videos. And I had to take those things off my phone. I took off, TikTok off my phone just so I wouldn't get caught up in it. And, we'll talk about it later, I'm sure, of these strategies for recapturing your time. But for me, just taking TikTok off my phone made all the difference in the world.
And I actually experienced that recently. As I told you, I shattered my shoulder on June 11th, and that hurt. Still
Oh, yeah.
does.
Wow.
Yeah, and any doctor or a medical person says, "What is your pain level, 1 to 10?" It's 114. Don't ask me again. It
Right.
hurts. But I caught myself doing the same thing because I really couldn't move. I mean, I really couldn't for quite a while. I mean, I could get up and down, but I'm not gonna go to details. It's horrible. Don't break your
Sure.
shoulder. But anyway, I caught myself doing the same thing. I would go to Instagram, and they have all these weird little books that you can read, but then they want you to pay more to read the rest of it. No, thank you. I'll go to
Ah,
Kindle. And I
right.
caught myself doom scrolling, and I got so bored. It was like and I would realize that I had spent 2 hours or more looking at trash. It was garbage. It
Right.
wasn't even all that entertaining, but it was something to do. And I said, "Oh, now I get it," because I didn't really understand why people would do that. Well, now I get it. It's disruptive, it's not good for you, and a lot of it is just pure garbage. It's just garbage.
It is, and I think you hit the nail on the head. You said it was just something to do.
Right.
Yeah, and you didn't gain anything from it. You actually lost your time. That amount of time you could have been reading a book, you could have been reading a magazine, you could have been exploring something like in the world. Like if you had had your iPad with you, you could have been out exploring something like maybe you've thought about someday taking a vacation in England or something, for example, and you could have been looking into that. Like, where would I want to go if I went to London? Where would I want to visit? What would I want to do there? Something where you actually are you're constructing something positive instead of just wasting, biding your time essentially.
And I have to tell you, once I realized what I was doing, because, I mean, you just do it because, there's nothing else to do really.
Right.
And once I realized that I was creating a really dangerous habit, I was ashamed of myself. I really
Mm,
was. I was
yeah.
embarrassed. Like, I live alone. There was nobody here to see me doing it, but
Right.
I knew I was doing it, and I embarrassed myself. Like you said, I could have been doing so many other things,
Right.
but I
But it's
didn't.
Yeah, but it's so I mean, I they make these, social media let's, keep the focus on social media right now. I mean, they construct these things with these algorithms that learn exactly what makes your brain neurons, your brain cells fire. And they learn that and they start sending you more things that they think you're going to like. I mean, it learns what you want to see more of. And it's kind of insidious in a way where um, I don't know. It's like you're hooked to this system. Your brain is hooked to the system, and it's just gonna keep giving you things it thinks you want.
It did, and I noticed it, and I said, "Oh, no, you don't," and I had a big fight with them about it. But
Good snack.
going back to your phone, I'm pretty fuss as you know, I'm a highly committed introvert. I'm not shy, and I don't have any filters that I'm aware of, but I do need to be alone to think and to recharge and just think. I do a lot of thinking,
Yeah,
and honestly, I figured out that if I'm not reading something or listening to something or learning something, my time is just I've lost that time, it's not coming back.
right, right,
But to go back to the phone, and this goes back to me being an introvert, there are maybe 5 or 6 people in the entire world that have my mobile phone number. That's it, and one of them's dead. My brother passed away from he had a double
right.
lung transplant. It
Oh,
was
gee,
3 years ago, but thank you.
so sorry.
And I don't want anybody pinging me or talking to me or nagging me about anything. If you've got my phone number, you're special. That's all there is to it. And I've got a landline, I've got a toll-free number, I've got an email address, you can find me. You
Right.
cannot call me in the middle of the night. I won't allow it
That's great. That's great.
unless your house is on fire. Then I might. But But I think if more people, and this may be part of one of your solutions, if more people would just limit that time on the phone, I love my iPads, I read on those, but
Right,
I have to limit myself or I'll stay there all day long.
right. Yeah, and there's, I've read articles about this, and there are ways in your iPhone. I have an iPhone. I think most people do, but there's other phones out there.
Yeah, me too.
But you can see how much time you spend on each of your apps. You can actually go in there and look at how much time you're spending on each of your apps. And you can see if you're spending a lot of time on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or whatever the different apps are. The only thing I do is I mostly look at my phone for email, text messages, and then every night as I'm going to bed, I go to bed, and then every night after I say goodnight to my wife, uh, I will do these games, these kind of brain game things where they're supposed to make my brain healthier. And I'll spend about half an hour, and they kinda make me sleepy, which is good. So I'll do those little games, those little brain games as I go to sleep, and it just puts me to sleep. So in half an hour, I'm like, that's it. So I try to devote my time on my phone to something productive, something that's actually making my brain better instead of something that's rotting my brain.
We have to be aware of it, and I think that's what so many people they're just like, "Well, this isn't harming me." Maybe not, but if you keep doing it enough, you haven't done anything productive.
Right. Exactly. And I think, when we talked about, how busy we are today, and I think that's true in our personal lives and it's true in our work lives for sure. I think that, the business environment is changing faster than ever. Technology is changing faster than ever. I think that people are worried more about their jobs, more so than ever. Not just because of the way the economy is kind of yo-yoing up and down. But AI is huge, is a huge topic where AI is taking over a lot of jobs. And in the future, it's going to take over far more. So I think given that, what can you do with your time to prepare yourself to be in the best position you can be, in the future? As we're in this fast changing world, you've sort of, it's like if you ever, shoot skeet, if you ever shoot, like hunt or shoot skeet, hunt birds, you've got to be ahead of the bird. You've got to be ahead of that clay target that's shooting across the sky. You got to anticipate it, know where it's going to go, um, and then be there when it arrives. So that's the same with your personal time. That's the same with your life. I mean, and in business as well. You've got to anticipate what's going to be happening and get there. So take the time to study where things are going, and then work toward that and be there when it arrives.
And be aware of patterns.
Yes.
I think so many people don't understand that patterns are critical. You have to identify them, you have to watch them, and you have to step out of the way if you're creating a pattern that doesn't serve you.
Right. And that's one of the things that separates us. I mean, this is one of the things that research has shown separates us from the rest of animals, the rest of the animal kingdom, is that we are pattern recognizers. Humans are pattern recognizers. Our brains are wired to recognize patterns. And so we're unique in that way. But you've got to do the work. You've got to, your brain is naturally going to see the patterns, but then you've got to recognize, you got to step back and look at what's going on in your life. And in business, as an employee, as a company owner, step back and look at those patterns and then, figure out how that impacts you. And is it trapping you? Is it causing you to be trapped? Is it causing you to waste time, over and over again? We have 24 hours in a day. Most of us maybe sleep away 8 of those hours. So with the time that's left over, are we devoting ourselves to the most productive uses where, we're getting things done instead of getting caught in traps that just waste our time?
But that means that awareness is critical. You can't just keep doing the same things over and over again and saying, "Oh, man, I'm tired. I didn't get anything
Mm.
done." Wah, 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 wah. Not helpful. I've done that. That's
Yeah,
I'm laughing at myself because we all do it. Now, do we keep on doing it every single day? Gosh, I hope not. But once you're aware of it, you can say, not now. Later, maybe at 9 o'clock tonight when I'm shutting down. Not now.
exactly. Yeah. And it is awareness and just understanding that your life could be better if you don't waste so much time. And you've got to do certain things. You got to take your kids to school. You've got to work. You got to go to work. You got to make money. You got to do these things. And those are important, but make sure that you're getting the most out of every day that you can. And set up those things for success, set your life up for success. And to be a better person and a better provider, have a better family, better community, all around you.
And then you can look at yourself and say, well, I did better.
Hmm.
Yesterday wasn't perfect. Tomorrow's not going to be perfect, but I did better.
Exactly. And it's an incremental thing. It doesn't have
Right.
to be a completely different person. You don't have to change yourself 100% overnight.
Well, you
Just a little.
can't. People go, oh, I can make that decision. Well, you made it, but now you have to work in it.
Right. So just a little better. I think, like you said, I mean, I think that's really key. Just a little better, just a little bit. You don't have to change everything. Just to change something small. At least these tiny habits that we have. We all have habits. We all have created habits in our lives. Some might call them ruts, but you can change things just a little bit at a time. Make a little tiny habit change, and it's amazing over time how those things add up.
And that's where consistency comes in. You can't just do
Exactly.
it Wednesday and then maybe next Thursday. You have to do it
Right.
each day. Ask me how
Exactly.
I know. So,
Oh,
hey, let's go back to AI. AI is everywhere right now, and frankly, I love it,
right.
and I'm not afraid of it, but I'm
Mhm.
learning it, I'm studying it, I'm staying out of its way when I have to,
Right.
and I'm using it as a tool it does improve productivity, but people should be cautious about depending too heavily on AI. Why do you say that?
Well, because it'll just do everything for you. I mean, if you ask it to, and I use AI quite a bit myself as a writer. I mean, I don't have AI write books for me, but I brainstorm with it. I'll brainstorm ideas. I'll ask it to suggest outlines for a book or for an article. Give me some ideas, and we'll kind of kick them back and forth, just like you would with a person. Let's brainstorm some ideas. I don't have, I'm by myself. As a writer, I just work by myself, and this has become sort of my team. It's part of a team and a tool, like you said. It's something I can use to kick around ideas, but it's easy to become very dependent on it. Where, um, y- you know, there's sort of a controversy right now about kids having to learn handwriting. So this is something when I was a kid, we all learned handwriting, where you cursive, cursive handwriting, and it was expected you would do that. I mean, it was required. And I remember one of my teachers, I think it was in fourth grade, gave me a D in handwriting because she was trying to kind of shock me back into becoming a better handwriter. I never did. It didn't help, but she tried to push me that way.
I print
But
everything. I remember when I went to get my first bank account and they said, "Well, you need to write in cursive." I said, "I print. That's it. That's all you're getting." Then because it's easy, it's quick. You print something very, very quickly, and I'm always in a hurry.
Yeah. So, to me, AI is sort of like that where, I had to learn cursive, I had to learn how to think, and now AI is thinking for me. And it makes it so easy to say, "Hey AI, why don't you just write this book for me?" I mean, I could do that. I could ask AI to, "Why don't you write the book? I mean, you already came up with these great ideas for an outline. We kicked all these ideas back and forth. Why don't you write the book?" And it would be perfectly happy, Chat GPT, Claude, whatever it is, would be perfectly happy to write the book for me. But then I wouldn't write the book. And I would have lost some tremendously big thing in my own, knowledge of writing. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be my book. It wouldn't be me. And I would lose the ability. I think over time I would forget how to write. If I depended fully on AI, I wouldn't I would forget how to write. So I think you could do that in various parts of your life if you depend too much on AI. It could be it becomes a crutch, where you don't, you aren't fully participating any longer.
That's a good way to put it. You're not fully participating. I like that. I just wrote that down. But I use Claude quite a bit.
Mhm.
ChatGPT and I had a falling out not so long ago. I said bad words to it. It was
Oh,
and then I had to apologize, but it wasn't.
wow. Okay.
But it's I needed a piece of code, and hadn't really worked my way up into Claude at that point, and Chat kept giving me the same garbage code. I'm a web developer by trade,
Wow.
and I got mad, and I said, "Quit, you're hallucinating, you're giving me the same crap over and over again. I'm not talking to you anymore." And it said, "Okay, Denise, we'll talk tomorrow," and it hung up on me. That was pretty
Wow.
can't say I
Wow.
blame it. Do you like Claude? I love Claude.
I do like Claude. I use, I do use the 3 big ones. I use Gemini, Claude, and then the Chat GPT. We haven't had a falling
Mhm.
out quite yet, but you never know.
It'll
Um,
happen.
but I just sort of rotate through them, just, seeing because they're updating all the time. I mean, almost every other day it'll say, "Oh, would you like the new updated version? Click here." And they just give you different kind of perspectives, different angles, on the questions you ask. So I kind of rotate through them, and and they are really useful. I mean, I've got to admit, and a lot of people, I think, in writing, authors, writers like me that write books and write articles. I mean, there's a lot of concern out there that the AI is going to take over what we do. and that we're going to lose our jobs. I mean, people won't need us any longer, but at least today, there's still a need for real human writers, real human authors. And I think that's going to be true in a lot of different jobs, a lot of vocations. You still need that human touch. You still need people. I mean, you're still going to need a person doing a lot of different kinds of jobs. Definitely plumbing. I mean, AI is not going to fix my plug sink. I'll tell you that.
And I like Perplexity. Have you ever tried Perplexity?
That's one of the ones I did a long time ago. I actually did Perplexity, and then so yeah, kind of forgot all about it, but I used it a couple of years when it first came out. I started using that first. That's the first one I actually started using, and
It's
I
great for
forgot.
research. It's wonderful for
Okay,
research.
yeah, I
And
forgot
I'll
all
tell
about
you
it.
how I use it because, I get when this podcast, it's 18 years old. I mean, it's been around for a while, and I get daily emails Monday through Sunday, sometimes at
Mm,
midnight. I'm not going to respond to them at midnight.
mm.
Well, I might, but because I'm awake. But, I'll get the usual, this, would you consider this person, or because it's mostly bookers, and they'll send me a one sheet. I don't like one sheets. They're beautiful, they're well crafted, but they're biased. They're
Right.
telling me what you want me to know, not what I want to know, what my audience might want to know. So I'll go straight to Perplexity and I'll ask a few questions. Already got them in um, my stack of questions to ask them. Who is this person? Where are they? What can I learn about them? Would they be a good guest for my podcast? And I'm telling you, I get full documents coming back.
Wow.
And I've
Wow.
sent those to some of my guests because I mentioned during the pre-interview, yeah, I already know quite a bit about you. I went to Perplexity. What's Perplexity? And I tell them, yeah, and I tell them, my last question is, would this be a good guest and why? And I've had more than two or three people say, what did it say about me?
I
So I'll
I
just,
want to know after we're done. I want to know what it said about me. I want to hear about
I
this.
well, I already know you, so I didn't do it,
Okay.
but I'll send them the document. I've got it in my files.
Wow.
They're like, "Oh,
Wow.
thank you." They didn't know.
Wow, that's interesting. I need to get back to Perplexity.
Yeah,
I'll get that back in my roster here of AIs for sure.
I use it for research and nothing more. That's all I use it for, but it's very handy because, you'll get these emails and I say, "Oh, I want to be your guest." I'm not going to go hunt you down. There's a few things you have to give me or I just say no.
Right.
But
Right.
I'd wanna know more than just what you're telling me. Because as you know, this podcast is about conversations.
Right.
It's not about talking points.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we send. I mean, that's what my PR person is going to send you are a bunch of talking points, and here's why you should book this person because this book is so amazing, and here's why. So yeah, that's and I as an I write articles on Inc.com. I've written almost 2,000 articles on Inc.com over the years on mostly leadership, but a lot of self help, business self help, marketing, everything else. And, that just keeps coming back over and over again that, um, we're selling ourselves. We're trying to sell ourselves all the time and show people that, this is something that they should be aware of. This is something they should think about. And how can we help you? And, podcasters, we want you to be excited about us. We want you to think, wow, this person is going to be the most amazing person to get on my podcast. And sometimes we are, sometimes we're not.
Unless you come on my show. I already know you're fantastic, so you don't need to worry about it.
Thank you so much.
But I wanted to ask you, and you said something and I'm skipping around because I keep flipping through your book. I'm
Mhm.
looking at my sticky notes. You talk about and we're talking about the mindset behind time management because it's so important. I mean, I always thought I was pretty good with time management until I had to sit on the couch for 2.5 weeks
Mm,
or lay on the couch and man, I lost my mind entirely. I really did. But you talk about having a serious business attitude. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
right. So, this is something I talked about. I did a book a while back called Home Based Business for Dummies. And part of that yeah, and it was that's a good book, it's if you wanna start a home-based business, that's where to start, but we talk about in that book, having a serious business attitude. And I think a lot of people, and this is mostly, when you have a home-based business or when you're working for yourself. I work for myself, you work for yourself, Denise. A lot of us do, and a lot of us are working at home now too. I mean, even, a lot of us who work for a company are working at home, at least, maybe if not daily, at least sometime during the week. And part of that, when you're working for yourself, when you're working at home, or even you're working as an employee for a company, you really have to be serious about your business. You have to take it seriously and be committed to the job, to the work that needs to be done. And so, I work at home. I think I told you that I have a couple cats. We actually have 3 cats in our house. And part of that means to be having a serious business attitude means closing my door sometimes so the cats aren't climbing all over my desk, jumping on my keyboard, which they do, and messing up my documents, which they do. My wife, I guess one of our cats jumped up on a shelf above her desk and then jumped down and onto her keyboard, and it broke her keyboard. Well, that's not a very serious business attitude when the cat's breaking your keyboard, and same for me when I'm trying to get work done and I've got these cats in my office. So, it's simple things like creating barriers, like closing your door, having a schedule with your family so your family knows when you're gonna be working and when you're not. Things like that. Um, it's all goes into the serious business attitude.
It really does, and when I first started my business, which was, gosh, it was 2021, I think, and I did and still do. I would get up, get dressed, do whatever I needed to do around the house, walk the dog, do whatever I was gonna do, and then I would get dressed like I was going to an office,
Yes,
and I still do.
right.
I mean, you can't just show up and you can, I guess, I can't, but show up in your jammies, and just because you can't see me, I don't have a camera on this giant monitor, but I need to know that I look my best, I feel my best, my hair is brushed, and I have a bra on. I mean, that's just all there
Wow.
is to it. So, it doesn't last that long, I'll tell you, because women hate bras, I'm just gonna tell you that right
Yeah,
now.
my wife's told me about that. I've heard about that.
Yeah, they're evil. They're evil. But you have to show up like you were if you're gonna walk out the door, get in your car, and go somewhere.
Right,
Have
right,
to show up. You have to be happy, pretty, handsome, whatever it is that you're going to be,
right.
groomed, and ready to rock and roll.
I think that's great. That's just amazing because, that's exactly what a serious business attitude is all about. It's being ready to do business, just like you would whether you're in an office, you're at home, you're at the Starbucks down the street working in their on their Wi-Fi with your laptop, whatever that means, wherever you're doing business, taking it seriously and, being dressed for the job, dressed for success, ready to go. And yeah, I don't have my pajamas on either. I can tell you that. And I take this seriously. I mean, I've got to be on, I'm on client calls a lot where I've got my writing clients, and I want to look good. I don't want to look like a bum. I don't want to want them to think I'm paying this guy that all this money and he looks like that. No, that's not acceptable. So that
Yeah.
really goes into that serious business attitude.
And you have to take yourself serious, you really do. And
Right.
I don't mean you walk around all buttoned up and nobody talk to me, but you have to feel good about yourself. The minute you hit your desk in the morning, you have to feel good. You have to feel ready.
Yeah. And I think, something to think about too about this is that, if you do work at home, you have your own business, and a lot of us do, is tapping into the cycles, your own natural productivity cycles. So, back in the day when I was working 2 full-time jobs, I was a manager full-time, during the day, morning and afternoon. And then I'd have dinner and spend time with my wife, and then I'd shift gears at around 10 PM, and I'd go to a local cafe and write until maybe 2 in the morning. And, that was my cycle. That was a natural cycle for me where I was super productive at night, and I did that for many years. Even after I left that job, the management job, I would still work late at night till 2 or 3 in the morning, and that worked really well for me as a writer. The distractions were gone. I didn't have my kids weren't running around like crazy people. I didn't have phone calls. People weren't texting me. I was just kind of on my own at, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got a lot done. I mean, I was far more productive during that time than I was at any other time of the day. So, part of having a serious business attitude is also figuring out when the best time for you to be doing business is. Understanding that if you've got clients, you're gonna have to deal with that too and work that into your schedule, but, try to make your business life as productive as possible by figuring out when you're as productive as you can possibly be.
You need to know what your natural rhythms are. I'm awake at 3:18 in the morning, largely because my subconscious wakes me up. I have a talk with it before I go to sleep. Might be 1:30 in the morning, but I'll say my prayers, and then I tell my subconscious what's bothering me. I
Mm.
need an answer, what's going on? And at 3:18, without fail, this is no joke, I wake up, I turn on the light, I write down what my subconscious told me, and I may or may not go back to sleep. I may get up and vacuum, I might make a gumbo. I have been known to do that.
Oh, wow.
I know. When you live
Sounds
alone, you
good.
can do it. Oh, it is. When you live alone, you can do pretty much what you want. But I have found that I'm a morning person, and I'm also a late night person,
Right, right.
which I know sounds like you too. But about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll realize that I'm looking at the same piece of code, or I'm
Mm.
reading something that's not making a lick of sense to me, and I walk off. I just
Right.
walk away. I may go walk the dog. I may do laundry. I may read. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do. And then about 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, I'm like, "Ooh," and I'm back in here. And I may
Exactly.
work like you until 1 o'clock in the morning. I work as long as, I want to and I'm able to.
Right. And I think that's something people don't think about enough, and I write about this a lot. I mean, it's in this book, and I write about it in articles quite a bit on Inc.com. Is that, you've gotta take breaks. You've gotta walk away, like you said. Just when you're staring at your monitor, you're just kind of your eyes are glazing over, or whatever you're doing work-wise, or it could be in your personal life too, when things are just glazing over, you just get up out of your chair, get out away from your desk, go for a walk, go outside, go do something, go make a pot of gumbo, go do something different and take a break. Let your mind go somewhere else for a while. It could just be 5 minutes, could be 15 minutes or an hour, whatever it is, because you're not getting things done. When you're in that state of mind where you're just zoning out and eyes are getting bleary and everything else. So get out of your just go for a quick walk around the neighborhood or just get out of your chair and do something different.
When I don't have time to go do something different, like go outside or walk with the dog, or I just have to stay here, I will do what I call my open refrigerator door meditation.
I
It
want
works.
to hear this. What is that?
You know how you always want we all do this, we all complain about this. What am I looking for in here? How did I get here?
Right.
You don't remember going to the kitchen? You don't remember opening that door? You don't remember
Right.
kinda like in that last 5 minutes of your drive time, you don't remember it, you're zoned out. So, I will deliberately go to the refrigerator, and I open bo it's a big double door refrigerator,
Uh-huh.
and I will stick as much of my body in there as I can.
Ooh,
I know, and I just zone out. I calm
wow.
down, it's cold in there, and then when the door starts saying, "Close the door, close the door," it's
Right. Starts dinging. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm done, I'm back. My creativity has come roaring
Oh,
back. Try it.
that's great. No, I'm definitely gonna. I've never done that. I'm going to give that a try for sure. That sounds interesting.
Well, when you watch those patterns and you realize that you keep opening that darn refrigerator door, and I live in the deep South, it's humid down here, that's not
Sure.
helpful. It doesn't matter what the air conditioner's set to. You mess with that door often enough, and you're going to start to have problems with that refrigerator.
Right.
And I started realizing that I was doing it a lot, and I realized that I needed a break. It might be a quick break, it might be 3 or 4 minutes, whatever it was, but it was sufficient to jolt me back into thinking.
It beats a cold shower too. I'd rather
It
I
does.
like the refrigerator idea. I would don't wanna do the cold shower, but the refrigerator sounds very doable to me.
Yeah, open refrigerator door meditation. Just go for it. Try
I love
it.
it. I'm gonna give that a try, and don't be surprised if that ends up in one of my books one day.
Oh, I hope it does. It
I'll let
works.
you know. I'll
Yeah,
let you know.
it really does. But and, you talk in this book, I love this book. One of the things that you talked about was the list, the god awful the list that scares us all stupid. We all have a to-do list, and they're not doable. They're just not.
Right.
So let's talk about that because I think that's a serious conversation.
Yeah, in this book, I have all these different, I've got a section, it's part 3 called 11 Powerful Habits for Getting Things Done. And the first one is making a to-do list. And that's the thing that I personally do. Of all these different things that I talk about that you can do to gain more time out of your day, whether it's personal time or work time at work, on the job, whatever it may be. That's the one thing I consistently do and have done for years and years. I've got, notebooks and notebooks filled with all my old to-do lists. I usually keep them for a couple years just in case I have to refer back to them. But yeah, I think, it's a two-sided coin. I think some people make lists that are way too long. They've got 20 items on them.
And they're
And
color coded.
yeah, yeah. I've got a set of 4 markers you could now that you mentioned that, I have these 4 different colored markers right here that I can grab anytime to color code things.
Yep.
And I think people let them get out of control, and something that research has shown time and time again is that when you have too many things on your to-do list, then nothing is a priority. When you have too many priorities, nothing is a priority. And so I make a point of only putting the very, very most important priorities on my to-do list, usually no more than 5. I work really hard not to have a to-do list with 20 items on it because that's nothing's gonna get done when I do that. But when I have 5 items, 3 items, um, 2 items, then I can focus on things and things do get done. So, you've gotta kinda control your to-do list. You've gotta actively manage it. But I think that's the most effective way to manage your time is to have a to-do list.
Listen, I agree with you, and I like to have 3 things, which
Mhm.
is it's a thought process. It's never just 3, but no more than 5, but I use, index cards,
Ah,
and my big thing that 1, 2, and 3 cards, and I'll put in big block letters, "This is what has to happen today," and then underneath it can be subcategories or reminders,
right.
and I can cross them out, cross them out, cross them out, and if I don't get it done, then I switch it over to the next day. But and this is cathartic, I'm telling you, the minute I have got 1 card done or 2 and they're done and I can cross everything off, I shred them. It's cathartic.
Nice. Wow. Wow. And I just thought of something that some people might wanna try, and I think that's a great idea to put them on index cards. I mean, I've been doing it in notebooks for years, but with an index card, then you can stick that thing, like, on your mirror, your bathroom mirror, so when you walk in there, you'll see it. It'll be right in front of you every time you walk in that bathroom. Or wherever you go, frequent a lot, you could carry those along with you, whereas my notebook sits on my desk, in my
Same.
office.
Yeah, I
It
have
just it
composition notebooks from the Dollar Tree everywhere,
yeah,
and then I
and
can't remember what I put in them. I have to start scrolling and then I get irritated, but index cards and the green ones mean money. This is where I put my
oh,
money.
wow,
I've got blue, I've got yellow, I've got pink. Pink is for urgent, do these.
wow.
The different colors. It's just how my
That
mind stays straight.
wow, that's a great I should have talked to you before I did this book, because then I could have had a 12 powerful habits for getting things done and have color-coded index cards as chapter 9 would have been good.
They work. They really d I like to simplify things as best as I can and just patterns. We're gonna go back to patterns.
Right, patterns.
Once I see those things on my desk, I know which card to grab first, which is going to make me money, and this
Right.
one's going to help with this, and, here's some I need to add these for some categories underneath it, but I'm not burying myself in a composition notebook, which I've done for years.
Right. And this is something, I think you point out a really good point. Those green cards, the ones that are going to lead you to money. I mean, that's what I try to focus on because I work for myself. I have to, if I don't work, if I don't have a job, if I don't have a client, then I don't make any money. And so I try to focus on those things, those 3 to 5 things on my to-do list. I try to make sure that those are things that are leading me to money, whether it's preparing a proposal for a new book, whether it's finishing a project, a chapter in a book that I'm being paid for. I want those things to be things that lead me to money. Doesn't have to be, depends on what your priorities are. There's a lot of different things you could have to-do lists for. If you're a parent, these are things with your children. You want to, do things with your children, your family, if you're out in the community doing things, you're volunteering with people in the community, that your priorities are going to be different. But, keep that sort of that North Star, whatever that North Star is in your life, whether it's your family, your job, your money, your community, and make your goals, make those different things that are a part of your to-do list flow from that North Star. That North Star should always be there. You're always looking at that North Star and make sure that the things that are on your to-do list flow from that North Star, whatever it may be.
Exactly. And I have to tell you, one of my favorite chapters is 9. Try the Getting Things Done framework. And you call it GTD framework. And it was developed by David Allen. I remember him. Oh, 2001. I think I said earlier that I started my business in 2021. It was 2001. It was so long ago, I don't even remember. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a bit because you say that it's based on the principle that our minds are not well suited to storing or managing information and commitments. And let's go from there because I agree with that. I read that and went, oh, absolutely right.
Right, and that's the whole thing, and ultimately that's what you're trying to do is offload these things into a system. So your priorities, you can keep them in your mind. You can try to retain that in your mind and carry it with you all everywhere you go all day long. But really that's what these time management systems are all about is creating a place where you can offload those priorities into something else so you don't have to keep them in your mind all the time. And the Getting Things Done framework does that. There are 5 steps in that framework. I'll just list them briefly. It's capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. And those are the commitments that you make. So, you want to capture the commitment. So let's say for me, it's I'm going to write a book proposal. So I want to capture that idea of I'm going to write a book proposal. You capture it and then you clarify it. Okay, I'm going to write a 30-page book proposal. I don't want it to be 50 pages. I don't want it to be 10 pages. It's got to be 30 pages. Then I want to organize that. Here's what the steps I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do to get to that goal. And then I'm going to reflect on it and then engage. I want to actually get it done. So that way, again, you're externalizing your goals. You're putting it into a system where you're systematically through these 5 steps gonna get something done. And it takes you there. It walks you right through the process to get something done.
Now, how long does it train? You have to train your mind to think this way, obviously. But I'm guessing, and this is just a wag, as we say in the Deep South, it's a wild ass guess. That once you do it enough times, you've written it down, you're following your system, so to speak. After a while, it just becomes automatic.
It does. And, I've seen research in the past, and I don't remember the numbers, but, to create a habit, God, I could have sworn it was something like it takes 2 months or something. I don't know. I need to get on AI real quick and get the answer, but it takes a while to get to make a new habit. It's so much easier to stay with an old habit. That's why they call them ruts. We get in them and it's hard to get out of these old habits. Um, but so you do need to stick with it for a while. You need to, any sort of thing that you want to do that's new. And this is true with the Getting Things Done framework. But the more you do it, the more it gets ingrained in your mind. Those neural pathways form, and it does become natural. After some amount of time, you will get this new habit. It becomes a natural part of your life. And you just have to stick with it for a while until it does become a part of your life.
It's not that difficult, but again, you have to pay attention and you have to be very specific about what it
Right.
is that you want to have happen.
Exactly. And, I'm going to go back to that North Star. Always keep that, whatever it is in your life that you want to do, that North Star, always keep your eye on that North Star. That's the thing that guides you. And make sure that these goals that you have all flow back to that.
I just wrote that down on my whiteboard. North Star. In fact, I might have to write an article about that because I know what you're talking about and I know where I have failed myself and I know what I'm going to do to correct it. So I'll let you know when I've got that article written.
Great. I'd love to see it. That'd
Yeah.
be wonderful.
Thank you. I wanted to talk with you. Oh, we're gonna run out of time. You need to come back. I mean, we
Always
never
happy
have
to.
enough time.
Always happy. Well, and this is the thing, this is part of the time, this whole paradox of time. When you're having a good time, the time just it's gone, and I've been having a great time talking with you. And I looked at the clock and it's like, oh wow, it's 9:05.
I
It,
know. We've got about 5 or 6 more minutes. We're gonna make the
yeah,
most of it.
it's just
But
going fast.
it does, it always does, and by the way, I'm booked all the way through the end of October, so if you would commit to coming back in the new year, I would be so
I
happy.
I would love to. Thank you so much. I'll be there.
Okay, great. But I wanted to talk about meetings, interruptions, and learning to say no. Learning to say no is not difficult for me. My mom swears, or she's passed now, but she would swear that my first word wasn't mommy or daddy or dog or cat. It was no. And she said I meant it. She said I said it with verve, whatever that
Wow.
meant. But meetings, I hate them. I think most of us do.
We do. And so much time is wasted in meetings. I know that a lot of times back in when I was in a corporate world before I left the corporate world or they kicked me out and then I decided to stay with writing full time. We used to look at each other. We'd be in a meeting and we'd all like look at each other and say, "Why am I in this meeting? Why did I get pulled in this meeting? I'm not. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing. I'd much rather be back in my desk getting things done." My job, I want to be doing my job. I'm sitting here in this meeting just twiddling my thumbs. There's been research on this too, and over $200 billion is wasted every year on ineffective meetings. So we're all caught in them, and we end up getting. It hasn't changed. I wrote a book. I think it was 25, 30 years ago. I wrote a book about. It was called Better Business Meetings. I think it's long out of print, and meetings were bad 25, 30 years ago. They're still bad. People still complain about them all the time. They're not any better than they were 25, 30 years ago.
Back when I worked in yeah, corporate, I guess, even before I started doing what I'm doing, because I am an introvert and being around people is largely annoying to me. And I
Right.
would have to go. I know that sounds terrible, but I would
Uh,
be in these meetings and the boss would click his pen.
ah,
I took it away from him. I didn't care if he fired me on the spot. I reached over
wow.
and I took it away. I said, "You've got to stop doing that." And everybody in the room, I think they wanted to break into applause. They resisted the effort, but meetings are just get in, get out, give me my instructions, and let me go do. Don't
Right.
click your pen and don't keep droning on and on.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you gotta, you guys often, when you're in a business world, you often get called into meetings and you have to go. I've written many times, I've said, push back. Tell your boss if you don't think you should be in the meeting, tell them that you shouldn't be. You really you will get more done. You'll be more productive if you just stay back at your desk doing whatever it is you're working on. And don't be afraid to push back if you need to, because there's nothing worse than just wasting your time in a meeting. And
And
too
you
many of
can't
us do it.
right, and then you're back at your desk, you're irritated, you're cranky, that pen
Right.
clicking just almost drove you crazy.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be out of sorts for probably the rest of the day.
Yeah. I would like
It's
to go back to this one last thing you said there about saying no, because it's so important, and it's something I've written about before too. Is that you know I think we all many of us grew up as people pleasers, Many of us grew up wanting to say yes, to
See, I
everybody.
managed to avoid that.
And you're a rarity. I bet you I could find research that says, 99.9% of it will say yes.
I
And
won't.
you're that 0.1% that say no consistently, but and that's a great skill to have because I think too many of us, and I'm included, I'm including myself, will say yes. Someone comes to me and says, "Oh, could you help me with something?" And I'll say, "Yeah, okay, I'll try to spend some time. I'll take some time out of my day and help you with something." And I should have just said no. And I've tried to get better at that. I think I'm getting better at that, but my natural inclination is to say yes. Sure, I'll help you. I'll spend some time. I'll guide you through this. I'll do whatever it is. But I think more of us need to say no and say no more often. And that's a great way to manage your time. Instead of letting people rule your time, you need to rule your own time yourself.
You really do, and no is not difficult to say once, and it's not mean, you're not being ugly. You're just saying, "No, this is not something that I can really help you with, but I can make some suggestions." I'll do this a lot. Somebody will ask me to do something, I'm not going to get paid for it, which is not always the driving motivation for me saying
Mhm.
no, but it's important, and it's going to cut into my actual, build my business
Right.
time frame. But instead of me saying no, I'll say, "No, I really can't help you with that, but let me make some suggestions." That feels
Right.
helpful, and then off I go.
Right. That's a great way to do it. I don't think I think you should always have an alternative. You don't have to say no and just leave it at that, no, period. You could say no, but here's some suggestions on ways you could find the answer that you're looking for. Here's ways you could do whatever it is you want. Because I think it's better to do that than to just say no, period. I think that's a great way to handle it.
Well, it makes sense. Now I have been known to say no and then hell no. That's kinda but
Yeah, I've been there too. I think we all
yeah,
have
you
some
have
time or
to.
another for
I
sure.
know. We are definitely out of time, Peter. If listeners are only implemented 3 ideas that we talked about this week, what would you recommend?
Well, I personally, again, I do a to-do list, and that's the most effective time management system I personally can use. But I think try the different ones and find what works best for you. And I agree. Learn how to say no. If you can learn how to say no when you always say yes, because you feel that that's the right thing to do, but learn to say no sometimes. And then again, if you're in a business environment, if you work at a business, quit wasting that time in meetings. I'm 100% on that. Find ways to say no to your boss and to deflect that and use your time more effectively.
That does make sense, and this has been a terrific conversation, and you're definitely coming back. What would you like our listeners to do or remember after listening about this conversation today? Is there any particular one of your books outside of this? Wait, you need it when? I still do that. I look at it, go, wait, you need it when? My voice goes
Right.
up an octave when I say when. But it's a terrific book. So, where can people find you? Where can they get a copy of your book? And what do you want them to remember after listening to you today?
Okay. So, my website is petereconomy.com. That's my name, Peter Economy, and then .com. And the book itself, Wait, You Need It When, it's on Amazon, as
You
our
said it wrong. You need it when? You need to get it
right,
said.
wait, you need it when? Yeah, question mark, exclamation point, question mark. It's on Amazon, as are most of my other books. And, I'm on Inc.com, Peter Economy. I'm a columnist there. But, if anything to remember, I think, just put yourself. I think we all tend to put others first, others before us. Our family, our spouses, our cat. I know in our case, our cats. I think my wife puts
Cats.
her cat first before me. But I think, think about yourself and think about that North Star, whatever it is in your own life. That's your overriding, vision for where you want to be in the future. And just make sure that everything that you do every day is getting you closer to that North Star, whatever it may be.
Understood. Again, this has been such a terrific conversation. And to our audience, time is the one resource that we can never replace. We all know that, and we still manage to ignore it. And today's discussion reminds us that productivity is not about filling every minute of the day. It's about making intentional choices that move us towards the work and the life that we really want. And as Peter just said, our North Star. He shared practical strategies for eliminating distractions, improving focus, making meetings more productive, just say no, using AI wisely, and developing habits that help us accomplish more with less stress. I recommend this book. I encourage you to pick up a copy of Wait, You Need It When, and begin implementing even just one or two of Peter's suggestions. Small changes in how we manage our time can create truly remarkable results over the long term. So, thank you, everybody, for spending part of your day with us here on your Partner in Success Radio. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, glowing, of course, and share it with someone who could benefit from today's conversation. Until next time, I am Denise Griffitts, encouraging you to stay curious, keep learning, and keep building your success one smart decision at a time. Peter, thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you so much, Denise. It was so great to be here again. I'm looking forward to the next time.
As I am. Talk to you again.
Bye.